Well, I think justice, a definition of justice. I'm thinking actually of a Jewish kind of idea, and when we give to charity, it's called tzedakah, and we call it tzedakah. And the root of the word for tzedakah is tzedek, which is actually justice. And I don't think that by any means giving charity equals justice, but I'm saying this because I think that the idea of caring about others and being engaged with others is, to me, what justice is about, right? Is to being able to see our brothers and sisters as ourselves, regardless of if they're Jewish, not Jewish, black, white. So to me, justice is very much about do people have equal access, and do people have the same rights as you and I, and if not, ensuring that that balance is found. That's kind of my definition of justice, which is probably nowhere near the actual Webster's definition of justice.
That's no problem. Would you please share an example of a justice or injustice, either from your life or that you've read about or seen from the Holocaust?
Sure. I mean, I think, the Holocaust gives us many examples of injustice, and, I think the most sort of poignant that we can think of when we think about the Holocaust is the treatment of children, and that, children as individuals who have hopes and dreams and fears, but haven't done anything in their lives yet to, deserve any kind of negative treatment or any way. And so, I think just the mass murder of the children during the Holocaust is certainly an injustice. I also see smaller things in our own communities today where, there was a case in Cincinnati, and I don't know why this comes to mind, but it does, probably about a year ago, where, and these things happen all the time, and sometimes we hear about it and sometimes we don't, but there was a case where there was a landlord who owned a building that had a pool, and so there were, apartments in the building, and the landlord posted a sign that said blacks couldn't use the pool. Now, this is in 2011, this is happening. To me, that's an example of injustice, and like I said, I'm not even sure that most people were aware that even had happened. And so I think it happens more regularly than we're even aware of. So,
what advice would you give to me and my classmates with regard to how we should live our lives and ensure that injustices, like, for example, those in the Holocaust, never happen again?
So my advice would be to, speak up, and to, even when you see the smallest ounce of what you think is unfair or unjust or disrespectful to another individual or human being, that you speak up, that we are not afraid to challenge one another, to confront one another in a positive, constructive way, obviously, but when somebody's not treated fairly or justly, whether it's in our own home or school or community, or on a large scale basis when it comes to genocide in the world. But I think it starts really small, and I think it starts with us being respectful to one another, and then being sensitive and aware of what's going on in the world on a larger level. But I think it's the small, it's the you and I speaking up and standing up for our friends or people we don't even know, but when we see something happen to them.
Is there anything else that you'd like to discuss that we haven't talked about?
No. I should have been prepared that these were going to be deep questions. No, these are great questions.
I have to be honest, I don't really understand why, but I need to ask you your place of birth and your birth year.
No problem. I'm fine to share that. So I was born in Youngstown, Ohio. In 1982.
Thank you. I have just one more question.
Sure.
Would you be willing to allow me to share your story with my classmates in our Book of Voices? It's a book that's going to be published at the end of the year. If yes, would you be willing to sign this release?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Although you're going to have to, edit my
That's fine.
So I sign up here?
Yes.
So now what do you do from here? So your job now is to do what with this interview? Are you researching more, or are you typing it out? What's the next step?
I'll definitely do more research.
Uh-huh.
I'm also going to take the video and transcribe it, and then turn it into Mrs. Alway, and she'll put. I'll actually do another paper on what you've told me, and just your story in general, and then that will be the specific page that's going to be published.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do I need to do this also?
Yes.
So, and everybody's doing an interview in the class?
Yes, there are many different topics. Lots of students are interviewing soldiers for post-traumatic stress disorder. Others are interviewing farmers and farmers for some reason.
Okay. Interesting. And so when you went to Poland, what grade were you in?
I was in 6th grade, I believe.
Yes.
So had you already learned about the Holocaust?
She was actually the one who introduced me to it, I would say. Her studies, I learned what she learned. She did a lot of work on it.
I know.
class.
And so
we were just talking about you the other day to a group of people. Jeff and I were speaking about sort of the work of the center, and he was speaking about you and your chapel talk, and actually also just recently at this table we were talking about our Yom HaShoah plan for this coming year, and they were speaking about your speech and Yom HaShoah and how powerful it was. So.
Oh, good. When is that again?
It's on April 7th.
Okay.
This year. Yeah.
Okay. I want to try and make it if I can.
Yeah. Will you still be in school?
I will. I have to check when my spring break is.
Okay.
If it mixes,
Yeah,
if there's an
that'd be
overlap,
great.
I would love to go.
That'd be great. And you've already studied then in Mrs. Alway's class the Holocaust,
yes,
right?
we've read Night by Elie Wiesel.
And you went to Washington. You
Yes.
heard Warner.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a great experience.
So what are you studying now or what are you reading?
I
in her class?
have read a book called Between Shades of Grey by Rita Septes. It's about it's the same time frame of the Holocaust.
Mhm.
It's just the Soviets, what they were doing to the Lithuanians and the Estonians
Interesting.
at the same time what the Nazis were doing to the Jews.
Wow.
It's a whole different perspective, but
Yeah.
the stories are very similar,
Yeah.
which is very disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many aspects to this history. And so, will you take Mr. Staten's class, do you think?
I hope to. I hope to very much.
Wait, and you have another sister as well,
Yes.
right?
Yes, she's a sophomore.
Okay. So, you're the oldest.
Mhm.
And the sophomore. Great. Good.
Yep.
So, anything else? And if there was something that I wasn't, clear on, or you want more information, you have my email, and you're welcome
Absolutely.
to reach out. I'm happy to explain further.
Thank you very much.
Be helpful to your project. This sounds like an exciting project. I'm interested to hear how the other interviews go.
Our class is very excited about it. This
Yeah.
is the first year we've done it, so
I was going to say, I've never heard of the 8th grade.
it's sort of a
students
test
before.
run this year. But I mean,
And it's a great experience for each of you to do an interview. I mean, and you're so professional and prepared, and I mean, it's great.
that's one of the things Mrs. Alway was talking about. Not only is it great to learn other people's stories, but it's good experience for what you're going to have to go through in college and through the rest of your life, job interviews and
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I hope everybody's as professional as you. I'm
Thank
so
you.
impressed. Okay. There
Thank
is
you very
that.
much.
Oh, yeah, you can turn that off now.